Hello, bonjour, and welcome to your new Bonheur Private Wines video. Oh, do I like those times when it's time to get tasting again and time for you to receive your new shipment of gems that we've selected for you from somewhere around the world. And let me tell you that we have something quite special here today. As always, I guess you were about to say, right? But here's what's very special. We've explored the islands of the Mediterranean for you, many islands around the Great Blue Sea, to find wines of authenticity, history, character, passion, and personalities that you don't commonly find trapped inside bottles. And that's because they are from mountainous, often windy, always sunny islands in the middle of the Mediterranean, and made from traditional grapes that are generally not grown anywhere else. So we have a white wine from the stunning Greek island of Santorini. We have a Greek red as well. We have two reds from the delicious Italian island of Sicily, to the south of Italy of the boot. One red from the other Italian island of Sardinia. And we also have a wine from the French island, Napoleon's island in fact, called Corsica. Wow! Let me tell you the stories of these wines and let's get tasting, shall we? I'm guessing you might have heard of the island of Santorini before, simply because it's one of the most famous among the hundreds of Greek islands, one of the most beautiful as well, and certainly I think the most famous one when it comes to wine. So Santorini is of course this absolutely stunning island, archetypal of the beautiful Greek islands, with those turquoise waters, sunny blue skies, fresh sea breezes, etc. But what happens here that gives birth to such a special wine? Santorini was born out of one of the largest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. That's it, simple as this, pretty much. This has given the island two of its most distinguishable characteristics: breathtaking landscapes and a volcanic soil. Volcanic soil, of course, gives minerality and zinginess to the wines in general. Now, Santorini is also right in the middle of the Aegean Sea, at this crossing between huge sea currents, and that creates very strong winds. Santorini is extremely windy, so much so that they often have to grow the vines, weaving them into baskets, so they can withstand the strength of the wind. It's very traditional and it's absolutely unique in the world. You won't find this anywhere else. Now, those strong winds keep the grapes cool with high acidity, and it retains the freshness of the wines. The grape used for this very wine is very local. It's typically Greek and rather fragrant, and it's called Agiorgitiko. Now, the producer is acclaimed locally. Grandson Artemis Karamolegos took the reins of the estate in 2004 after his grandfather, who had been making wine there since 1952. But let's get tasting the wine. It has a very shiny lemon yellow color. It's slightly pale, but it's so shiny. It looks definitely vibrant. The nose is quite exuberant. It's got really explosive notes of freshly squeezed lime is really what comes to mind, but also tones of pink grapefruit, so very citrusy. I find some touches of vegetal character, a bit of fennel, a bit of acacia, so that lifts things up a little bit as well, but very, very fruity. Some pear and some pomegranate is what comes to mind. It smells really fresh and vibrant, somewhat like a very good mojito cocktail, just to give you an image. But of course, better than a mojito cocktail, this is wine after all. But let's see what it tastes like. So this is clearly a bone-dry and very crisp white wine. It delivers this really shiny and precise acidity that we love to get into white wine. There's no sugar that I can perceive, nothing to fake the balance. There is a soft and delicate oily texture which smoothens out the sharpness of the acidity just the right amount. It still allows the acidity to stand out, which is what we want, really. There's a little bit of a saline feel, a bit of a saltiness, and that's exactly from the volcanic soils, and that makes you salivate and expect some food friendliness in there as well. Flavors are those of lemon and green apple with a bit of a discreet herbal bitterness in there. I really love how balanced and extremely well executed this white wine is. The lemon, the saltiness, the minerality. This incredible terroir of Santorini just shines through the wine. Close your eyes and I'm sure you'll see yourself facing the Mediterranean, visualize the Greek white houses and the turquoise waters over a stunning creek. I'm transported there with this wine. Absolutely beautiful, salty, precise, marine, fantastic. And we're moving west a little, but staying in Greece, although we're on the mainland of Greece now. But don't worry, we're still overlooking the Mediterranean with this wine. Now we're in this little corner of Greece, even though it's right in the middle between the Peloponnese and the continent, in one of the most, if not the most reputable appellation of all appellations in the country, that is called Nemea. Now Nemea is a small village located around 20 miles southwest of Corinth, for those who know Greece a little, and only about 40 wineries make wine in that spot. This is a fantastic little spot that is special because it simply makes the best examples of wines made from the best Greek indigenous grape that is called Agiorgitiko. Now the producer, which is called Giannikos Winery, is small. We often go with small producers. It's organic as well. They pride themselves in carefully looking after their vines and respecting their environment for the benefit and the character of their wines too. Now the winery was established in 1896, so long tradition. Since 2009, they've invested, modernized the winery, they took a winemaking consultant, they did everything that they needed to do to bring the quality of their wines right up. So genuine traditional grapes with careful modern winemaking techniques and skills, focused on single varietal wines from indigenous Greek grape varieties. That's the recipe. For these reasons, the Giannikos Winery is considered one of the leading organic wineries in Greece, with demanded wines all around the world, even though they're all made in small quantities, small production wines. We're lucky enough to have got our hands on one of those few bottles. Now the wine is called Lion. I like the name. It's made from 100% local Agiorgitiko grapes, as I mentioned, hand-picked and hand-sorted with 12-month aging in French oak barrels. But let's get tasting it, finally. And clearly this is an intense looking red wine. The Greek Agiorgitiko grape is a rich grape for sure. Let's smell it. Yeah, I love how both earthy and vibrantly fruity the wine smells. There is a veil, a bit of a forest floor and dried leaves character to it at first, which is in fact quite intriguing, but it lets through opulent aromas of fresh fig, juicy purple plum as well. If you sniff harder, you will get the undertones of clove and licorice. It's absolutely layered, complex. It's a bit of earthiness, fruitiness, the licorice, the bitterness almost. It smells almost bitter from the clove and the licorice. Absolutely delicious. Let's taste it. So on the palate, it first feels quite soft and really mellow, with a smooth, velvety texture. There's a bit of granulosity there, but it's velvety, smooth, it's soft. But as the wine develops on your taste buds, it delivers some grip, a bit of a zingy acidity as well, and it's got those delicate herbal bitters as well. It's really all about the balance of the mid-palate that gets bigger and bigger and ends on a rather explosive and really powerful explosive finish. So balance, finesse, and then power and really strong flavors of plum and prune fruit. A lot of character into this wine. There's this zingy, acidic berries character, bitter licorice that I was talking about as well, sweet flavors of oaky caramel and vanilla from the oak treatment, plenty of herbal scents as well. So a lot of characters, there's a lot going on here, a lot to digest and a lot to enjoy. I'm a big fan of this wine. It's genuine, it's frank, it's fine, yet it's powerful, it's sunny. It's just really, really brilliant. And we are continuing navigating further west now, and let's stop over for a moment in Sicily, to the south of Italy, of course. So the winery there is called Mazzei. This is an iconic producer of the island. The estate is located in southeast Sicily, the actual land of origin of the local Sicilian grape that's now become iconic around the world, that is called Nero d'Avola. We're only a few miles from the town of Noto. If some of you are familiar with Sicily, it's famous, this town, for its Baroque buildings and UNESCO World Heritage Site. So the Mazzei winery identified the potential of this terroir rich of history and ancient culture. They started their winemaking project back in 2003. Now this very wine is considered by the winery itself the most important wine that they make. It's made from a selection of indigenous Nero d'Avola that is bush trained, which is common around the Mediterranean, but not everybody does that, and mainly old vines are like this. It's grown on 2 single estate vineyards, hence the name Doppio Zeta, which means in Italian double Z, or double Z, you'd say in America, right? From the 2 best vineyards on the property combined to make this wine. It was aged for 16 months in small French oak barrels, just to refine it a little bit, give it more something more. And straight out of the bottle in the glass, the wine looks really, really lively with a shiny, bright red color. Let's sniff it. Wow. It does also shine through the nose, definitely, with its vibrant fruity notes of fresh sour cherry and blueberry. Really fresh berries is what comes through. The spicy tones of white pepper and peppermint as well, which lifts things up a notch a little bit. There are undertones of earthiness as well, some forest floor when you walk through a forest, herbal scents and a bit of fennel as well. It really smells overall really alive, like a wine really rooted and directly connected to the Sicilian grapes that it was made from. You can smell the grapes, but they are elevated in this wine. I love its explosive flavors of fresh acidic cherry. For an image, it somewhat tastes like a cherry juice would, but one wouldn't actually never taste a cherry juice, right? Who does taste cherry juice? Well, it looks like we have an opportunity to feel, to experience what a cherry juice would taste like. And that's a great opportunity. I really enjoyed that part of this wine. Now, the tannins are grapey, a little bit grapey and really lively, somewhat like biting into a green apple, to give you an image, with a bit of a zingy, crystal-like acidity. Flavors are all about the freshness of red berries, as I said, just underlined delicately and cleverly by some notes of freshly cut aromatic herbs, a bit of basil, oregano, thyme, that kind of fresh herbs. Absolutely delightful. One word comes to mind to summarize this wine: blissful. It just shines and oozes with life. Not every wine does this. Pair this with a tomato and mozzarella salad, for example, or a pasta al pesto, for example, and it'll just be absolutely heaven. I love there's some clove and cinnamon and the earthiness that just shines with the fruit as well. Wow, yeah, get me some pasta al pesto. And with this next wine, we're actually staying in Sicily, not far at all from where we were with the Doppio Zeta, but for a little more variety. Here we're switching from a local grape to to a more international grape of French origin, namely Syrah. As you know, we've talked about Syrah before. Syrah is one of the very best grapes to make red wine that is grown around the Mediterranean. It actually originates from there, from the south of France. It's of course the grape of Rhone wines in France, but it works extremely well in many places that have a Mediterranean climate, including Australia or California, for example, and it does work really well as expectedly in Sicily. Now, the winery is called Planeta. It was only founded in 1995, but in just a few years it's been able to develop a role of protagonist in the Sicilian wine world, and that's thanks to a modern approach to making wine, revealing specific terroirs and areas rather than blending wine from different zones, which was a bit of the tradition there. With this wine in particular, we are in an absolutely gorgeous coastal area called Menfi, and this is a selection of the best Syrah wines that are made in this area, made in a relatively modern style with aging in barrique or barrels. Barrique is French for barrels, but they say that in Italy as well, they call them barrique, for 14 months. But let's get tasting it. And this is a really rather dense, solid looking wine. It looks very youthful in appearance, even though this is a 2015, so it's 5 years old already, but it looks shiny with dense red hues, very vibrant, still very youthful, still hints of purple, which is how you can tell whether it still looks young or not. Let's sniff it. Wow, yeah, the nose really boasts with huge accents of vanilla bourbon. Like a wealth of quality French oak was infused into it. And this backbone of salivating, sweet smelling and complex aromas is definitely deepened by profound sense of opulent dark olive, a bit of clove, a bit of burnt caramel as well. Burnt caramel is a very good descriptor, but not burn as in bad, but sweet, but slightly ashy caramel if you wish. Very, very complex and captivating wine to smell at. Let's sip it. Yeah, dark prune, dried figs, blackberry jam come through the palate as well. We had them on the nose, but it comes through the taste as well. What really strikes first is how velvety and round it feels. It's smooth and delicately granulous as well. It's not silky, but more velvety, just like velvet indeed, with this granulosity that it's got. It's got some solid acidity as well, with a nice grip that develops from the mid-palate on. And then it explodes with a burst of fruity prune and blackberry jam flavors. And I can feel now the complex finish of sweet spices. Got a bit of cinnamon, the clove again, the nutmeg, the black olive. I'm getting, 1 minute after tasting it, a lot of black olive like the tapenade that we have in the south of France. Anyhow, I love the richness and the concentration of this wine, but also these very distinctive herbal Mediterranean spices that it's got. It's got some thyme, it's got some rosemary, very massive overall concentration. This is a wine that you can certainly age for quite a while. It's 5 years old already, but it feels so youthful. So this is a wine that you can definitely stock upon and cellar for quite a while. Big wine right here. Syrah wine, expression of an international grape from Sicily. It's got the Sicilian signature as well from all of those herbal characters. A fantastic, delicious Sicilian wine. Great example, Planeta. Now with our penultimate wine, we're staying in Italy, but onto the other large island on the territory of Italy that is called Sardinia. Now this type of wine from Sardinia that is called Connonnau di Sardegna has become hugely popular among wine connoisseurs all around the world, and I'm glad we were able to source one for you. It's actually made from the Grenache grape, which is the other very good international grape of French origin that is successfully grown around the Mediterranean, and the Sardinians are really good at growing it and turning it into great wine. Now this producer is called Kerchi, and this is a small producer as well, like most people in Sardinia in particular are. Sardinia is a rather remote and a bit isolated island, so very traditional and a bit of a rugged rural lifestyle that they live over there. So Kirki is a family-owned estate, traditional, established by locals in 1970, that is all about respecting the land, caring about their vineyards and revealing the beauty really that comes out of the local grapes that they grow. Even though they're small, they're one of the flagship wineries in this part of Sardinia called Usini. And let's get tasting this beautiful wine. I haven't even taken the time to pour it. Let's do it now. Oh, nice color. And this one has a bit of a lighter color, especially coming out of the Syrah that was so dense and rich. This is a little bit more on the lighter, bright red color style, the signature of Grenache. Grenache doesn't have as much tannins and it makes for fruitier wines in particular and a little bit less color in this case. But let's smell and sniff this wine. The aromatic profile of this Connonnau really shines with red berry fruit intensity. There's a distinctive fresh sour cherry note in particular, and we seem to have a bit of a cherry themed selection or signature today. Lots of cherry aromas and flavors with this Mediterranean selection. Perhaps it's me today, but I smell the cherry a lot in all of them, and maybe that's just the signature of the Mediterranean itself. But here I also get notes of violet flowers as well. There's some floral elements to it here as well as some white pepper, so it's really uplifting as well. But let's sip it. And indeed, there's definitely some sour cherry-like type of flavors going on in here, but I'm also getting some fresh raspberry, a bit of peppermint and white pepper as I was detecting on the nose. And all of these really throw sensations in many different directions. It teases your taste buds in many directions: floral, fruity, spicy, very exciting. The tannins are smooth and soft, while the wine is dry, but it's subtly crisp as well, which reinforces its playfulness. You got the acidity teasing your taste buds, reinforced by all those different herbal, spicy, floral characters that it's got. There's some nice delicate earthy undertones as well, a bit of chestnut, a bit of subtle sense of porcini, mushrooms, and that makes for a rather deep and a bit of a savory finish, like soy sauce or mushroomy finish. I really love all of these different varied facets that it's got: the fruitiness, spicy, minty, earthy. It's lifted, it lets itself enjoy simply with its just upfront fruitiness, but there's also many layers of complexity in there, so it's very satisfying to have this just easy pleasure that it gives. But if you deep a little bit deeper, you can find those many facets, and again, it's like fireworks of teasing sensations all around the place. Yeah, really nice. Connonnau di Sardegna. And finally, let's finish at home in France, because yes, of course, the island of Corsica, as you know, is part of France, just in large of the French Riviera. But it's a rather rural, authentic island with also rugged landscapes surrounding stunning coastlines and beaches. We're just a little bit to the north of the Sardinia island that we were on before, kind of the same spot on the Mediterranean. Now, this is an interesting story about this wine, or the producer of this wine. The founder of this winery is called Eric Poli, and he's a native of Corsica. His family had vines in the northern part of the island, but he became a trader on the financial markets. And later in life, which some people do, as it happens, as things happen, in 2007, tired of the crazy trader lifestyle, he went back home to Corsica to create his own wine estate and label. He named the winery, of course, Domaine Poli, after himself, his surname. It's an area where a lot of small vine growers struggled to survive at some point, and many disappeared. But now, those wines, when they're well crafted, are attracting new waves of interest because they're authentic and quite rare now, on a terroir with a potential that was often forgotten about throughout the 80s and the 90s. But Eric has been able to keep these vines alive, and now he can reveal this place's underlying potential. Now this is a wine made from 100% Mieluccio grape, which is a pure Corsican type of local grape variety. I think it's loosely related to Sangiovese from Tuscany, that you know from Chianti for example, but it's been grown in Corsica for like 1,000 years or something, so it's become its own thing, its own local grape. Absolutely unique to Corsica, not grown anywhere else now in the world. But let's go and get tasting this wine. Wow, wow, beautiful purple color. It has indeed this very youthful red color with heaps of purple hues to it, which makes it really look like a young juicy wine. At least that's what it looks like. But wow, the nose is really all about the fresh and vibrant red berry flavors again, but really clear. It's all about the red berries here, absolutely clear, and impeccable notes of cherry, I know, in particular, but you'll also find some fresh, really fresh and zingy blackberries as well. But here it's not about the sour cherry or the griotte as we call it in France that we had here with the Connonnau. That's the same griotte or sour cherry that you can find in Pinot Noirs in particular. It's not the dark ripe cherry, the really dark, really sweet cherry that you can find in some Merlots or Zinfandel. Here it's just the in-between, which is in fact quite unusual in wine. It smells like ripe fresh cherries, juicy and a little sweet, but not overly sweet or ripe. Just the pure, just the ripe, little sweet, little acidic cherries, and exactly like the ones you'd actually pick yourself in your own garden or buy at a good farmer's market. Really refreshing to smell at this one. Yeah. Wow, yeah, I do love the explosive purity of the red berry fruit characters here that really dominate the flavor profile. It just seems to taste purely of the grapes that it was made from, no artifact whatsoever. It's juicy. What I thought when I first tasted this wine is that if you close your eyes while tasting, you can imagine yourself in the vineyards in the mountains of Corsica, overlooking the Mediterranean, of course. At the horizon, imagine you are picking grapes straight from the vineyards and you're tasting a couple of berries from the vines. This is exactly the sensation that this wine gives you. It feels like you can actually really taste the berries themselves, the pure juicy cherry, the raspberry flavors with no noise around it. A hint of pleasing bitterness, I would say, a bit like laurel leaves, which I actually like. There's a bit of a crack of black pepper on top of that. Tannins are really smooth overall, with enough bite and granularity to be interesting. The right amount of saltiness that comes through as well, which gives a bit of an extra layer. Just absolutely really exciting. It'd be easy perhaps to miss this wine's natural harmony because it's so charming and easy going, so fruity, but if you pay attention to the details, appreciate the balance, the hints of spices, a bit of the earthiness, the creamy caramel tones that it's got, that I'm getting on the finish now, it's actually a very captivating wine to enjoy. It's easy to sip and enjoy, but it's also somewhat layered and just absolutely juicy. Simple, complex, is it? I can't decide. It's both. It's absolutely, yeah, I love this wine. Domaine Poli. And this is going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this little cruise that we've had around the Mediterranean islands. A little escape that we've had through the cultures and the tastes from the remote parts of Greece, Italy and France. We're very proud that we've been able to assemble this selection for you. It's never easy to gather wines from small producers that are scattered on small remote islands, but I think we deliver here a genuine taste of all those different places. I hope I've explained them well enough for today, so I'm glad we did it. We thank Barry and Diego in particular for their really hard work for finding all of those gems for us, and I'm sure you will enjoy those wines as well. Can't wait to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine indeed. See you soon. Cheers. Santé.